right, bro. You
Okay.
ready?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
excited for this one. So
Yeah.
why don't you give me a quick intro, and then we're just going to roll right from there.
Yeah. So my name is Jeremiah Wilber. Retired from the Army. I spent 20 years in the military. And now I run an organization called War Party Movement, as well as I'm the co-founder of War Party Ranch, which is a 501c3. We work with female survivors of abuse to empower them through just kind of badass skills, horsemanship, hunting, self-defense, shooting, and really just kind of give them some things in their back pocket to empower them and help them move forward with life. So
I can't wait to get into this because this is something that, like we were just talking about, the wife and I,
yeah.
looking, and we've been watching and seeing what's been going on in our own country, and it's pretty crazy. But let's get right into your childhood. I want to start from there because you're a fascinating person. We got to spend the night last night. So where'd you grow up?
So I kind of grew up all over Montana to begin with. My mother is Apache. She's Muscular Apache by blood, but she a lot of people don't know about the Native American boarding schools.
Okay.
So my grandparents both went to residential boarding schools, and they were kind of whitewashed, if you will, but in this sense more brownwashed. Like they changed their last name to Cordova. They basically kind of inculcated in the Mexican culture.
Really?
Yeah. So my mother was raised more like a Mexican, and even though they're Native, they still do a lot of Native traditions, a lot of Apache things. Okay. But it was like my grandmother spoke Spanish, like she. And she didn't want her kids to have to go through what she went through, so she moved to outside San Diego, in the mountains of San Diego.
Was this a program created by the government?
Yes, absolutely.
So that was to pretty much take the culture out of the culture?
Right. So the statement, I forget the general that did it, but like you can literally look it up, and he says like we want to educate the Indian out of the man, or vice versa, however it went. But
I've heard a statement like this before.
Correct. So in our country, it was until like 1976, I believe, is the year that we had Native American boarding schools. Canada had them until like 1996.
Really?
Yeah, they're really bad. So a lot of the stuff you'll see in the Native community talks specifically about residential boarding schools because every family was affected. So like my story isn't an uncommon story for people who are raised outside of their culture, especially people that have mixed race, or military family or whatever, and a lot of Natives serve in the military, and that's kind of my family's story and like how it progresses through like the rest of my childhood, the rest of my life. So my grandmother moves to California, Southern California. Actually, really cool community because it's surrounded by like 5 Indian reservations.
Okay.
So
where at?
Out in San Diego County and Julian, outside of
Julian. Okay, so I was in Temecula.
Oh, right. Yeah. So right.
Pachanga and everything. I know all that area.
So I was actually born in San Diego. My dad's family was also from San Diego. They were like old school vaquero cowboys. Then my grandparents moved to Montana in like the 70s. So that's kind of how my family ends up getting to Montana.
You guys followed suit.
Well, I think I was just born in San Diego. I don't know if my mom were like, I don't know the whole story, if I was there visiting or what was going on. So anyway, we live in Montana until I was what grade? Like 7th or 8th grade, I believe. Mm-hmm. And all over Montana, my dad was just like a blue collar guy starting out. He was just a cowboy working on ranches and whatnot. And then we lived everywhere from like Ennis, Montana to up on the High Line, up by Havre, in the Res. Lived in Great Falls. So we kind of bounced around. And the reason why we bounced around towards the end was my dad put himself through nursing school, and he wanted to be a flight nurse.
Really? Good for him.
Yeah, so he changed his like this trajectory of just blue collar, like just cowboy stuff, guiding elk hunts and just chasing that life, and was like, there's no money in it, like we literally lived in like a 1-bedroom cabin, like at times, and but I had an amazing childhood because of all those things, because of like always being outside and just working and being in Montana where it was like, I'm going to the ranches with my dad. I'm working. I'm going hunting. I'm from like the youngest ages I can remember.
Yeah.
My mother was also not famous, but there's a couple like really famous Western artists, like Val Miller is one of them, and Putt Putman. My mother modeled a lot for them. So a lot of the postcards that you see with Native women that are older ones, a lot of them are my mother.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember a lot of that because they would do like, those guys did like reenactment scenes. So they would have like a mountain man like my mom on a horse, you know, and like her like in like a jingle dress or like a elk dress, like a tooth dress. So all these different, like she would wear like her traditional stuff, and then, you know, so in that time as well, my mother and my father both get, but most of my mother, she meets this guy named Harris Rock, and it becomes like a grandfather to me, and he adopts her into the Assiniboine tribe, because my mother didn't grow up with like a bunch of these traditions and stuff because of the boarding school system. So when I tell people, yes, I'm Native, I would love to try to connect more with my Apache side and learn more, you know. But at the same time, it is really cool to have all these. Like I grew up like an Assiniboine kid, with traditions and the powwows and everything we went to, and everything we did. It was like I didn't even know I was an Apache or I wasn't Assiniboine until I was older. And my mother was like telling me what was going on. And even my mother didn't really know the whole story of boarding schools and like everything that happened. My grandmother was very ashamed of it.
Because they didn't know I mean, technically in a way it was a brainwashing program.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was.
They didn't know. I mean, they were washing the culture
correct
out of our country, or trying to at least.
When you look at it from a, I don't know what the right word would be, but like when you come back and you look at it from like that 10,000 foot view, right? You have one of the most, not every tribe, not all, but people don't understand how to differentiate between Indians, right, or natives. So if you're, as the Western Front begins to move from, you know, where it was back east and continues to push west, it just gets more hostile and more hostile and more hostile. And then especially once you enter, you know, Oklahoma, Texas, like the plains and the western states, they encounter some of the greatest warriors the planet's ever seen. So now you're looking at this fiercely gruesome fighting force that no one understands. They don't speak your language. They don't act like you. You think you're this advanced person because you know, wear different clothes than them and you speak a different language. So you think they're not advanced. So you had all this like going on with the government side. And then, you know, it's one of those things like Americans can do it any country they go to, right? Like you think like everyone is the same from that country, and you get there and like, oh, they're different too, like Americans. And some countries aren't that way, right? Some people are like, dang, everyone's white here, everyone speaks the same language, right? Or whatever, you know. So I think when you look at that as a whole, there was a lot to do with that on like a defense strategy to like how do we you know, basically indoctrinate them, change their culture, their way of life. And you do it with the kids. So we change the kids, we force them to go to these schools. Now the kids can't communicate with their parents. They don't follow traditions. They have to cut their hair. They can't speak their language. We're removing every piece of identity of them being Indian out of them to include the warrior. Because if we take away that, they're not going to be warriors. So that's basically kind of like, in my mind, that would be like what the government, or what like kind of white, you know, the umbrella of the government at that time is. And at the same time, it's also like when you fast forward to what's going on now, it's why a lot of people, I wish people would use the Native example more, right? Because when you look at Indian reservations, especially the ones in the West, they're in the middle of nowhere. You know, we actually have data, my people, that if you remove everything they want to do in life, their way of life, the way they think, what the food they're allowed to eat, everything, and force them to live somewhere, look at what happens to them. Now obesity is rampant. You know, addiction is crazy.
Alcohol.
You name the alcohol, you name the addiction. You know, missing women, you know, domestic violence, like every single problem you can think of is just exacerbated, as well as there's zero jobs. So it's not like, you know, my example is always like, Amazon's not going to build a warehouse outside the Crow Res in Harding. It's not. So what do you expect them to do? So I wish more Americans would see that model and understand what happened, and look at this as a whole of like, if they did that, right? And people were like, well, and it's like, yes and no. It's not because they look different, you know, like now we're seeing that with the way people think, right? Like if you think differently than me, then I can, like, you know, we want to suppress this or force these thoughts or do these things. And it's just a very slippery slope. And we have an example what happens to people when you do that to them, you know. And even the big one is food's a big one, you know, like a lot of obesity is very big in the Native community. And that's what happens when you just force commodity foods on people that were primarily, you know, a carnivore, hunter-gatherer diet until 150 years ago, you know. And even Indians that live like down in Arizona, like Maricopa, the Indians there live on the river and they're farming and doing things. But even then, I think people get that don't hunt and don't see what an animal produces. They get misconstrued that everyone's like this amazing hunter and it's going to feed people. But it's like, dude, if we shoot one elk and we have a village of 50, like we all get a little piece of meat tonight and that's it.
Yeah.
And most people don't, they can't understand that. So I think the how drastic it was on what we removed from the Indians is it's weight, the value in that and the weight in that's a lot heavier than you can really imagine, because most Americans, regardless of your color, your skin color, unless you are, very inundated in your culture, you're from another country, you're second generation, immigrant or something like that, you won't understand what that really means to remove your identity from you.
Yeah. That is, there's so much that we could probably get into with just the native culture and what's gone over the history of it. Maybe we have you back on and just go over that. But, so jumping all around in Montana, and where did you settle down?
So all over Montana, bouncing around, and then my dad got a job in Las Vegas, working Flight for Life. So we moved to Vegas.
So he ended up living the dream.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Good for
Yeah,
him.
yeah. So when we moved to Vegas, it was just a really cool, another experience that really shaped me as a man and as a kid.
I can imagine.
Moving forward, I have this silly nickname, the Ghetto Vaquero, because we moved to East Las Vegas. Okay. My street was, it was kind of like middle class-ish, but, like the hoods around. Like, it's hard to explain. People haven't been to Vegas, especially my side of town. They're like, because the way it was growing that time we moved in the 90s, we had my dad bought a newer house, we had a brand new house, but it was like still kind of in this weird area. But it was really cool because just on my street alone, we had so much diversity, and we had like a black family that had just like moved from North Las Vegas, like straight out of the ghetto to a nice house. We had I call them rednecks, but they're not. They're from Boston, and they're just like the most rednecky, greasy white kids I've ever met in my life. Really cool family, blue collar. Yep. Everyone on my street and everyone in that area was very like blue collar people, or worked in the industry because it's Vegas, so they all work, in some kind of industry at the service stuff and the casinos. But it was just cool because that really shaped me, because I was also around like gangs, and I had a very diverse upbringing in that. And imagine. Being a kid in Montana in the 80s and early 90s, it was like the things my parents went through, a white guy walking around with a brown lady, and my mom's Indian. My mom's very beautiful, so it was like I remember like my dad was always like getting into stuff, and then vice versa. We go to the reservations, like some Indians, my dad's white, or I'm happy, like, so it was always this weird kind of dynamic in Montana that didn't quite fit in, or find a group you fit in with, and I was a kid, so I didn't see all this. So Vegas was cool because it was so diverse. There was black, white, Asian, it was everybody. And so I started playing sports and doing martial arts and those things, and all of that really helped me just mold me, stay on track, because of like how violent and the things I was exposed to in Montana. Like I said, in Vegas, lots of gangs. Yep. Especially where I live, we had a gang that kind of controlled our whole area. So, people who didn't grow up that way don't quite understand, but it's like, it doesn't matter what color you are, man. Like when you walk to school in high school when you're 15, 16 years old, like it's that you get fucked with, and they mess with you, and they, it's a very like weird dynamic of playing politics of like, how do I just be me, and this, I just want to play sports and be good.
I just want to be a kid.
Just want to be a kid, and so I kind of learned how to navigate some of that early, but I also got this really cool, I would say like a lot of my swag and the way I feel about life and the way I approach things comes from kind of like my upbringing of being this like, all my idols and heroes when I was really young were all these like salty, badass cowboys. Okay. And then, or like, and when I say cowboys, I don't think people also misconstrue, like, think of like white. It's like, no, I'm talking like Indians, like badass, like white dude cowboys, Indian, like just cowboys, man. And that was like my favorite thing. It was like, that was all my heroes were these dope ass, my uncles, my grandfather, like all that. And then I moved to Vegas, and I'm around, where now my heroes start to, they're still cowboys. Like I still have that as a kid, but now I'm looking at like, you know, I'm influenced by like the other guys, the football players and the wrestlers and my karate instructors and stuff like that. So I'm more influenced on like a city level. So I think that upbringing gave me a pretty healthy balance to be able to move forward with life, you know, and I was able to take a lot of those life skills, especially as I moved into military later on, of growing up that way in Montana, and then also having that like kind of street smarts and dealing with
a little bit of it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's pretty, as for a kid, I mean, it's, you know, we, at least us as a family now and having children, I mean, we want our kids to be exposed to as much different experiences, cultures. I mean, it sounds like you checked almost every freaking box.
It was cool, man. I mean, you know, just like when you say cultures, I mean, you know, 1 week, you know, I could have been eating like down at my buddy Dietrich's house, and his mom made like some like fried chicken and like collard greens or something, and the stuff I never had. I'm like, what is this? This is cool, you know, like soul food. And they're like, you don't know about soul food? And then
like oxtail.
Yeah, exactly. Then you know, the next family over, they're like Mexican, so like their moms like give you stuff, whatever, and same my mom like fried bread for everybody, and it was just a really cool like experience to see like the moms in the community showing that diversity through food and culture and just and what we're doing. So
that's how it was though. Like, you know, I feel like for a lot of people, I mean, when I grew up in Chino, everybody played with everybody. I mean, like I remember looking back as a kid, like all the parents. I remember parents all would be out talking. I mean. It's not like that. I mean, I'm sure there's still communities and things, but like I feel like it's changed so much. Now everybody's just so secluded in their homes and there's no like
your phone, dude. You don't
your
need
ass whooped by the neighbor, you know, because you did something stupid and then they bring you home, you know. And I was like, oh, I whooped your kid's ass. They're like, all right, you know, like that. Those days are so far gone as far as like, you know, kids just running and coming. We try to keep it as much like that. Like we want to open door for.
Well, I say, you know, that saying when everyone's like, it takes a village to raise a child. That saying, right? Mm-hmm. I think we should say it a little different. And it's like everyone needs a village. You need to belong to a village, and if you don't belong to a village, it's really hard to navigate all these situations when you're growing, because the way villages work, regardless of, you know, you can point on the globe wherever it is, whatever era, it was like we all came together to raise our kids to live function. So like if I'm the blacksmith, it's like, I'm gonna fix and do everything a blacksmith does, but at the same time it's like, well, you're the hunter, like he's training guys to take them out and go hunting, but like I have to help you fix everything and do this. And then, you know, you're taking my kids, I got your kids for the day. It's like all these things, and everyone in this village is really putting in on each other. It's not just the kids, it's about each other. And I think like most days in communities and society, we've gotten so far away from that. Oh, people don't even know who their neighbor is. You know, like you live on the street and there's 5 houses on your cul-de-sac, but you don't know you don't know them. You don't like, because, and it's hard because people are weird. They're standoffish now. Like, you know, everything's so scary. And it wasn't like we didn't have pedophiles and weirdness in the 80s and 90s. No. It was just, to me, it was more like authority stuff, right? And from the way we raise our children, anybody that we're around like consistently that like we're going to be, that's my friend or around my kids, we call them their aunt, uncle, or tia, you know, tia, because my kids know that, because like I want you to be able to correct them. Like if my daughter's doing something she's not supposed to do, or my son's saying something, like, hey, you tell him to do something, he don't say nothing, I want you to be like, yes sir. Like he needs to be respectful to adults and do that. And I think that we've gotten so far away from that, because that's how I was raised, you know, like even like being kind of in that kind of weird ghetto environment, like it was still very respectful to adults. And you looked at other adults for guidance at times, you know, if your parents weren't there and they're immediately there. And I think that's gone away. And now it's like kids are just super disrespectful to even their parents, so they're not going to respect other adults or other authority figures. Mm-hmm. But it goes back to that circle of like, if we all need somebody, you know, we all need to be doing things together. It's why I like, you know, boys want to be boys and hang out and do things together, like whether it's go hunting trip or fishing trip or whatever. Like we need those. Women need to be able to have those circles with their women, and they can like
My wife's big on that. She knows there. We've been together for so long now. She'll know. She's like, you need to.
Oh, dude, my wife does all the time. She's
you
like,
need to go, go do your thing, and and she likes it because she gets the girl time with the kids, and they always talk about it. I'm like, what do you guys? I ask the kids, I'm like, what y'all do when I'm gone? Like, we stay up late and eat candy and chocolate. We get to sleep in bed with mom, and so it's like, I'm like, you little shit. So they all love it. So it's like this little reset. But yeah, it's good to have that camaraderie. I wish it was like how it was when we grew up, because now it's like, fuck, man, you don't know. I have kids that live behind me. These two younger, I want to say kids. They look like they're in their teenagers, but I don't know if their parents bought them a house or not. I've tried so many times to like hey, you want some? And the worst part is, where my beehive is, and like I stand on my I walk out my back door, and I have my rose garden, and the people that owned the house before them were very old, and it must have been a spare bedroom. The windows were the blinds were just shut. It's like, dude, I never had. Now this kid lives in this room, and he'll just be dressing, and I'm staring at my bees, and I'll look up, and he's like damn near naked, and I'm like I wave all awkward. Like, what do you do when you make eye contact with somebody? But like, I've tried to like, hey, you want some honey? Like, hey, there's a beehive right here. I'm not staring at you. But these kids are just, they look at me and they just like, they'll come up and close the blinds, and I'm like, oh, fuck, like, here we go. Like, bro, we've been here for a long time. Like, I'm not, and so it's one of those cases where I've tried like, hey, you want some bread? Like, you want some honey? And they're just absolutely not.
I don't know, man. I mean, obviously not to go to a different thing, but like the way society is, and the way people grow up now with technology and phones and all these just different distractions, and I really, I think that time period, like high school, is influential for me, but very uninfluential. Like, I'm not friends with one person from high school. I don't remember anything other than like, because I was so into martial arts, I remember a lot of that. But I do, most of it that was influential was just like the culture, the people, that kind of like that spirit of like all these kids playing outside, and we're all friends, and we all did these things together. And I just don't see like packs of kids playing and do that stuff anymore. So
like all the bikes in the front yard.
Yeah,
like, what happened to those?
Oh, dude, we used to be like 30 deep on like 12 bikes, and just like go across town, play basketball somewhere.
Dude, everybody's got a kid on the back pegs, and I mean that's how it was. Man, I wish we could rewind and show, because like we we'll do like go down memory lane of old school music and how we grew up, and we'll show the kids things, and they're just like God, and I'm like, you'll never know what it was like where your parents are cruising downtown, like go down into the because I lived right out of the village. That's how your mom would find you. Go right around until they'd see a yard full of bikes, and then they'd go, hey, get your ass home. I'm like, all right, like hey, Lance's dad needs him home, because dads and the parents are all that's how they used to find us, was just and man, I miss those days. But
so I kind of, that, or talking about that feeling, I'm very blessed I was able to take that forward in a lot. So right out of high school, I joined the Army, and I actually joined the National, 1998, I joined the National Guard. And my plan at that time was to do high school to flight school. All my dad's pilots that flew with my dad, or flew for my dad, were all like Vietnam era, like just these badass pilots. So I was around all this. I had like two retired CW5s like write my letters and like show me like, hey, you can do high school to flight school. This is the thing. And I was working on this packet. And because I joined the National Guard, there was like 2 jobs I could pick from. One was an MP, and I was like, one was like a mechanic or MP. I was like, I'll be an MP. I'm not gonna be a mechanic. They're like, no, I don't care. So it was cool because I got to I didn't go to boot camp yet, but I went to like drill once a month. I learned stuff, like I was around adults, like soldiers, guys who were like 40, like from younger to all, and I was a high school kid. Like I was a senior, this is my summer between my junior and senior years when I did this. So I basically had like a full year of high school where I was around a lot of, I would say adults is a good term, and I mean like true adults, these soldiers, these guys who were like
older mentors.
Yeah, and because it was MPs, I was around like a lot of like highway patrolmen and police officers that like were, now serve that. And I think that helped me too to understand that like I wasn't like some degenerate kid and like a criminal. But the other thing about being an MP, it gave me a chance. I was like, hey man, like I've done some bullshit in my life.
I've been here.
I've had some chances from some cops that gave me second chances, and or even in the court, you know, like juvenile stuff that I got second chances on. So I was like, you know, if I can, maybe this is a cool. I don't know anything. It's like, oh, it's a police. Like, cool. So so I did that, and the whole time my plan is to go to continue forward. At the time, I got my girlfriend pregnant that year. So
how old were you?
I was 17. So I was 18 when my daughter was born, and she was born in June of 1999, and then I left for basic like July 6th or something.
No
99.
kidding.
Yeah. So when I went, and it was more of like, hey, I need to. This was already the plan to join the military, but be on the National Guard side until I got the flight stuff done. But I just had so much fun. You know, it sounds silly. Like boot camp to me was so fun. It was awesome. You know, I had very influential like drill sergeants and people I was around, and I was like, dude, I just want to do this full time. Like this is like, what am I gonna do? You know, I started thinking about it. I was like, I got a kid, man. Like I need to like make money, like have a job. I was working at Costco, dude. I was working at like the meat. I literally cleaned the meat department at Costco.
Oh,
yeah, it's fun, dude. With a pressure washer and just, you know,
late
taking apart all those
shifts at
machines.
night or what?
Yeah, I mean, so you start like as the meat department closes, once all the meat's out, probably like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I actually got locked in there once. Like they just left, and I was like back there cleaning.
Just as a kid.
Yeah, I was like 17. It was just like pressure washing fucking hamburger helper off fucking the side of these machines.
And then you get locked in this
Yeah, they
place.
locked me in, dude. And then the alarms go off like the fucking SWAT team's about to attack Costco because the fucking
You're back there just
just back there cleaning with
got
headphones
music
in.
on,
Yeah. Yeah, they would have fucking.
this.
Would it was a tape, dude. Definitely, I was gonna say it wasn't a Discman then either.
Yeah, right. So you make you're kind of having this come to Jesus, like, okay, like
Yeah.
I'm 17, 18 years old. I'm working at Costco. I joined the National Guard, but like I need a full-time.
Yeah, I need a full-time gig, dude. And it was like all the things that I had in front of me as a young kid. I was like, man, I don't, you know, like I did have like the fallback of like the martial arts thing.
Yeah.
We started out doing Taekwondo and then kind of transitioned into, you know, like full contact, which then it would transition to like kickboxing.
Yep.
And I had a good like run at that. You know, my sister's my sister's a 6'9" world champion. She's on the cover of, like Sports Illustrated for kids
Good
in
for
like
her.
1998 or some shit.
That's
like
cool.
just yeah. And I mean, so I just looked at all that and was like, man, I don't, you know. And I was also kind of we still did a lot of outdoor stuff when we moved to Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it was like, yeah, go hiking at Red Rocks and go climbing and stuff like that. But, like, hunting went away. Like, fishing, like, all the things that I would do that, like, I could just access regularly in Montana
your
was
back door,
gone.
yeah.
Yeah. So, the Army to me was, like, getting back into that kind of stuff.
Okay.
That, and if you asked me what I was going to be when I was, like, 4, I'd have been, like, an airborne ranger. And that was just what I wanted. Like, I knew I was going to be in the Army. I knew I was going to be a soldier.
There's a lot of guys that I talk to that I always ask, and they say the same thing. They're like, you know, I knew my whole life I wanted to join the military. And I'm like, damn, like they were like, I was just destined to be, you know, a ranger or just a grunt, whatever it was. So it's funny. There's a big percentage of guys that were like, that was.
Well, I think with that, and I'll say a saying before I go into that too, is today is a good day to die. And that's the saying the warriors say before they go into battle. And I was raised with that saying my entire life. So when we would go do something, or my dad would leave the house, so my dad's flying helicopters, you know what I mean? Yeah. And doing like, and stuff was crashed. Like I've been to crash sites with him when I was a kid, and like his friends are killed, you know, in crashes, and you know, cowboys getting hurt. And I was always around like that gritty and like an umbrella of death almost, you know, as a first responder for my dad, and like just, so that saying, we said it a lot as a family, like, I love you, you know, and what it means is, I think that if you ask me what it meant in certain times of my life, it means different things.
Okay.
What it's supposed to mean, and the way I'm interpreting this now, where I'm at in my life, is that and this is what my mother would tell me too, and now I'm there, is I'm right with the Creator, I'm right with my family. If I die today, like, I'm not looking for death, but like, what are you going to do to me? Like, what can you do to me
When your number's pulled, it's
if
pulled.
I'm ready?
Yep.
Like, and I think that warrior mindset is something that, like, when you said a lot of guys have that. I've said that to people, and it like resonates and clicks, and they're like, "Oh man, I that was like the first time I heard someone put it into words the way I was feeling, even as like a young kid. When I would look at, you watch a movie, you watch like Green Berets or whatever, and you're like, Navy SEALs, and you watch fucking stupid movies, but you just watch a movie and you're like, and you get this like glamorization of war." But I think every kid, men, young boys probably have that, but there's a difference. And what I mean is everyone has a calling. Yep. So those guys who knew they were going to be warriors, I feel like the same way someone knew they were going to be a doctor. Like you're the best brain surgeon in the world because that's what the creator made you for. Mm-hmm. You're a badass hitter in like A Squadron right now because that's what the creator made you for, right? Yep. And I think that sometimes when you follow the wrong path, that is where it does mentally, it's really heavy and the weight is different for you.
You're getting pulled back.
You're getting pulled back right, exactly. Mm-hmm. So the guys, to me, in my experience, most of my friends and the men I've talked to that had that more of a warrior mindset from a very young age, they deal with the stresses of war and the stresses of their time in combat a lot differently than a lot of other guys do. For sure.
So, National Guard.
Yep. So I'm a National Guard. Sorry.
No, you're good, dude. I just want to just keep following this because, I mean, you have such an incredible story in life. So, you got your first girlfriend pregnant.
Yep.
You have a kid at 18.
Yep.
Join the National Guard, realizing, okay, this isn't, so you go full time.
Yep. So I get there.
Get where?
To basic training, whatever. And towards the end of it, like my last month there, my drill sergeant started to work with my dad and the recruiters back in Nevada to get me changed from National Guard to active duty status.
Okay.
My dad retired from the National Guard, so he was like the battalion flight surgeon over at Battalion Med.
So he had some pull.
So and it was easy. I was a private, I was like nothing. So the governor just sign that. Yeah. The Army needs them, whatever. So it's super easy.
And this is 99?
99. So my technical, when I say 20 years in the Army, I have 22 years in the military total. 20 years active duty, January 3rd, 2000 to January 30th, 2020 is my active duty time span in the Army.
Yeah. So you're pre 9/11.
Pre 9/11.
So so after you do boot camp, where'd you go from there? So obviously at boot camp, did you get the word that you're now active duty, or
not at boot camp?
Was it until afterward?
I had to go back and then do it. So the cool thing was I was just like everyone else that I went to boot camp with, where we graduated in November, and basically would have went home on hometown recruiting, Christmas exodus, whatever, and then I reported my duty station January 3rd.
Okay.
So I went back. I didn't have to do anything. When I went to MEPS, it was just stamp, and they were like, "You just went from boot camp." Yeah, dude. It was literally just get stamps from people on the line.
Okay, yeah.
My first duty station was Fort Hood, Texas.
How was that? But then again, you've had so I like asking because there's so many guys that are born and raised in, let's say, here in Idaho, in the middle of nowhere, and then they get stationed in
right.
Shreveport or something, some crazy. It's a complete culture shock.
Yeah,
I guess you've kind of experienced a lot by this point, so you can fit right in.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely had a lot of experiences, and like I said, going back to Vegas really helped me because, I had really good friends of different walks of life, and it was also the first time when I was telling you about the kids from Boston, I didn't know white people were different. Meaning I was from, only white people I was around was in Montana, were fucking country, cowboys, dude, country kids. They all did the same thing. They were just cowboys. Yep. And I get to Vegas and I'm like, well, what do you mean? I didn't know that because they were from Boston, they talked different, they acted different, they were different food, different everything. I was like, wow. And it was those experiences were really cool because later in life I've seen that now, especially having friends from different parts of the country or whatever, So the Army was really cool because now I'm experiencing other people,
which is very interesting.
Yeah.
You go to boot camp, you see every walk of life.
Yeah.
Every walk of life that we have in this country.
Absolutely.
And you're just
yeah.
Some people are how are you even here?
Oh, yeah. Some people are I'll fast forward. We'll get there. But I was a drill sergeant too. So I'll tell you a lot of.
Okay.
Are you talking about fucking retards?
Oh yeah. Okay. So you get your first duty station.
Yeah.
What was your MO? So you were
I was
an
an
MP.
MP. Yep.
Okay.
So was able to just basically, again, because I went through MP OSIT, one stop unit training for so basic training, AIT are all together as an MP. I get to Fort Hood, and it was literally like I get there in January, and even despite my accomplishments as a kid, athletically, winning world champion and fighting like my whole life, my confidence, I want to like say the word self-attrit. I didn't think I could do the things that I did end up doing. Okay. So like, if I saw like a ranger or like, there's no way someone would be like, you're like, if someone could like tell me the future, like you're going to be a Green Beret, I'm like, you get the fuck out of here, bro. Like okay, what? Yeah. But I did have this like, whether it's at boot camp to, my whole career, like I was always like top everything. I was like the fastest dude, the highest PT score, shot the best. Like, so what happened is I just chased being the best soldier I could possibly be. And so March, I actually just did this race last month. So I get to Fort Hood, start doing PT, like, oh, this kid's a stud. And then my first sergeant was a little Mexican dude who runs marathons. I was like, hey, there's this race called the Baton Death March. A bunch of soldiers always do it. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. So I did that. I did Baton Death March in 2000. And actually,
how many miles?
26.2. So it's what it is I want to say the year is 1947. No, 1942, April 7th through April 13th, on the island of Bataan. It was like 75,000 POWs, Filipino and American POWs, were forced to march from the Japanese to a different POW camp on the island of Bataan, and they called it Death March, and over 18,000 of them were killed. Jesus. So they're basically just like walking like 26 miles a day, and if they fell out, they'd just stab them with a bayonet. The villagers, the Filipinos would like put rice balls together and like try to hand them to the soldiers as they're walking. It's in White Sands Missile Range, and the reason why it's there is because it's very inundated with natives and Mexican Americans, because the New Mexico National Guard, the unit that is now New Mexico National Guard, was there, and they were captured and surrendered on the island of Bataan.
Really?
Yeah. So it was just a really cool experience to like, when I did it, and, almost 25 years ago in 2000, the old dudes, the POWs, they're there. They're like talking to you. Shit. Yeah, it was so cool, man.
I bet you didn't even like, I mean, I'm sure you appreciate it, but like looking back now, you're probably like, fuck, I should have asked so more questions.
So much more, and it was cool for me, especially that experience with that, because my grandfather was such both my grandfathers were just such an influential person in my life. Mm-hmm. And my dad's dad lied about his age and joined the war when he was 14. He was 15, so he's 15 years old. He's in the Navy. He's driving amphibious assault boats in the South Pacific.
Okay.
And just a fucking badass cowboy, man, from fucking El Cajon. And
so you got some veteran blood.
Yeah, for sure. And then my mother's dad, he was a Marine. He was a grunt. He's got a Silver Star in Korea.
Really? He's a
machine gunner. Yeah, PFC. He assaulted a machine gun nest. And
shit.
I'd like the whole write-up. It's really badass.
Damn, man.
He's just
so you were destined.
Yeah. It was just like, so I was, around that stuff. And so I do the Baton Death March, and that was kind of like a springboard, a little bit of a springboard for me, because I won. I won.
Really?
This. I was like, oh, cool. And everyone's like, you won? I was like, yes, I just ran. You just told me to run, bro.
Yeah, I'm just.
Just do what Soul Sarge tells me to do, bro.
Don't stop till you get to the finish.
So I did that, and then just kept trying to like just chase everything I could as a soldier. I ended up going to SRT, which is like the special reaction team, is like the SWAT team.
Okay.
And this is
because you're an MP, so you're
as an MP. Yep.
Now you're going to the SWAT side of things.
Correct. So basically, and a lot of people didn't realize this until I think like Iraq kicked off. I was a little more like I was not a garrison MP. I hated patrolling. I didn't want to do that. I was always in the field. And the best way to describe it at the time until Iraq kicked off was like, we're literally like infantry. We just have chicks and trucks. Like We have a couple girls, and we put everything in trucks, and we drive. It's a three-person team, driver, team leader, gunner, in a truck.
Okay.
So we're doing, route reconnaissance, route security, air security. Like those are all our primary missions. So, you fast forward to the war, that's what everybody ended up doing was this like convoy security, route clearance, all area security, all these things that we did. So now there's a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, they were with MPs like, oh yeah, you guys were gunfights all the time and stuff going on. Before it was like fucking MP, and I was like, and it was weird because I was like, okay, like I don't care, I like what I do, I'm in the field all the time. Like we were attached to my platoon was attached to 4th ID. So like we, when they were out to the field, it was 3rd ACR at first that my platoon was like worked with. We worked with a brigade of 3rd ACR, and then it switched 4th ID and 3rd ACR switched from Carson to Fort Hood, or I can't remember what happened, but or it might have been opposite, 4th ID then 3rd ACR, I think.
So when were you like, okay, it's time for me to shift gears? How did that come out?
Okay, so I went to SRT. This is before 9/11. 9/11 kicks off.
Okay.
I was literally like when 9/11 happened, I was at E4, and I was NCOIC at the East Gate, the Ransier Gate.
Okay.
And they brought a platoon of Cav scouts out to me and dumped them off. And I spent like 3 days straight, like no shaving, no sleep, no nothing, just running the gate. And all we did, we had to search because Fort Hood was an open post. So we had locked posts down 9/11, and it was taking people like 7 hours to get on post, So like it was hectic. And then right after that, we deployed as an SRT to support the Marine Fast Team and a bunch of it was a maritime objective outside of Egypt. So we were on the Mediterranean. What we were basically pulling a lot what the Fast Team was doing was we were doing like outer cordons, basically support roles for the Marines for the recon and the SEALs that were assaulting boats out on the Med.
No shit.
So I didn't have this like badass experience. I was around all these badass Navy SEALs and force recon dudes. But what I did have was like we're pulling out security and we're working with them and it was like the first time like it was a deployment, was cool. I didn't get into like a gunfight on that deployment or anything, but definitely some times where, if you're snooping and pooping and you're moving through stuff and people are, guys did get into some things, but so it was a cool experience. And that was kind of my first time being around, like seeing like there's so much more to the Army and to the military. And you talk to like, especially and all this, like everything that can be under the special operations umbrella. There's so many cool jobs and things people do or they need to pull from. So it's like, hey, send us a platoon of infantry guys and we'll use them or whatever. So that was right after September 11th. I get back and then I get an opportunity to go to another selection. It was like, go to the selection, they need MPs. I didn't know what it was for. What it ended up being for was PSD element under. So I ended up moving. And I get stationed at Fort McPherson, Georgia, which is in downtown Atlanta. So
well, that's a culture shock.
Yeah, it was a culture shock.
Sure.
That time was amazing because I was just doing, I was working for one guy and that was my job. And I rode motorcycles then. And all I did was like ride. And I had some of the coolest, like, I'm still friends with them to this day. Like these OG dudes who were like in their 30s and 40s, and I'm like 22, 21. And I mean, we would just like, if you came to Atlanta in like between like 2002 to like 2004, like when I lived there, it was like, if you saw dudes riding wheelies and being crazy, and it was me and my boys. It was like a crew of like 40 of us, and we'd race for money. It was so much fun. And I lived in this big city, and the only thing I wanted to do was ride, and it was, I learned a lot. I just learned a lot of life stuff from these older guys, and
they're all vets too, or
no. Some of them were veterans.
Okay.
Some of them were active duty guys. Some were veterans. Most of them were civilians.
Okay.
So, you know, some were criminals, it was just like a cool, like back to, you know,
a family camaraderie.
yeah. I had a lot of that, you know, because I was on this weird post where it wasn't a lot of soldiers. It wasn't a lot of that, you know, so I was
What the hell were you doing
that.
out there? Just
PSD stuff.
I know, but like, just, you said you worked for one guy.
Yeah. I worked for a Force Com commander. So it was
Really?
like, yeah. So I would like go on trips, taking my trips. And then we also serve all the dignitaries, like senators, we get OPCON and TACON out to all over the place. We get farmed out as like a element that does PSD.
So you're just doing their personal security.
Yep.
I mean, they're traveling abroad, or is it all just here in the States?
Both.
So you're still going on like these little mini deployments and like a week, 2 weeks.
A week or two, a couple of days.
I mean, that had to have been pretty fun.
It was, and I was on like the advanced team.
Okay.
So like I'd go set up, go do like, I don't know if you're supposed to say certain words. Like I'd go do all like the SDRs and do all the routes and get everything set up.
Okay.
For like if you were the PSO.
And this is Iraq or where?
This is a lot of places. So we would do. I've been to like Egypt, Turkey, everywhere Europe. You can think of all the Europe stuff. A lot of stateside things. Iraq, Afghanistan. Iraq and Afghanistan was easiest because you're just flying in, and like if we're gonna go talk to your commander, it's like your platoon like provides everything. So I'm just like, just walk with the boss, or like I fly in like a day early, and it's like, oh, this is where we're going, this is that. You know, it was harder when you go to like a city. So like if the boss was going to like a different, like to say he was going, and it could have been an easy trip like down to Fort Benning.
Okay.
We have to drive them. We got to do like check all the routes. There's like advanced car. There's this. There's like, so it's like there's a lot going on.
I drove for the 1st Marine Division General for a while, and I mean, it was fuck. They go to these events, and we have to go route recon, and you're just like,
well, so it was like that, and then I was also had to do very like Army stuff where like dress blues, white gloves, like open the door, like just open the door at like his dinner parties. But really cool. I mean, his wife, they took care, and they bought me like Christmas presents and stuff.
They're cool when you meet them on a personal level because you spend so much time with them.
And then I ended up more being working with his wife more than him.
Okay.
Just kind of how it worked out. I wasn't the PSOs were always that's the personal security officer was always like a warrant officer, like directly assigned, and then the NCOs and the soldiers we did driving and security elements and things. So it was cool. I mean, like I said, it gave me a perspective of, everyone's a person. And a lot of as I continue the story, a lot of senior leaders in the military, the ones that just remember what it was like to be a team, not to say team guy, but what it was like when they were a brand new lieutenant or a young guy and like to do these things. Because all they hear is everyone's just stroking their ego and telling them everything they want to hear. And every officer they talk to is just saying the right shit so they can get promoted. No one tells them the truth on the ground. No one talks to them like a fucking friend or a person.
100%.
So when I talk to them, like I learned that from Mrs. Ellis and General Ellis, because like I would just, hey, how you doing today, sir? Learn about him. Learn about him, his kids, his wife, and because all his conversations, and I knew in the vehicle or he's going to a meeting, this dude's gonna literally spend the next 8 hours just fucking absorbing information and being told bullshit. So let's not talk about Army shit or any dumb shit. Let's just talk about,
let's be humans.
Yeah, like basketball, football, whatever he's into and what things I'm in, and you find that commonality. So I learned that, and that really helped me in the future, especially as a Green Beret, to like take that mentality. Like, dude,
I mean, you're spot on with that, because I'm the same way. Especially, I mean, you're in the guiding world too, and I mean, dude, I've dealt with clients that are, I mean, you can't even fathom the wealth that they have, and I've always been like, I've always just treated everybody as if they were one of my friends, and and like I've not obviously in the military, because when I was driving for the general and working up at the division, all that stuff, you obviously have that respect,
right?
And the rank and everything, but like I was going, how was it, sir? Like what and they would talk and open up to you.
Yeah.
And then obviously when you get to your point, and then it's almost that flip switch. You get out, open the door, and you're back to it with that respect thing. And I learned that as a young Marine as well. Like these people, everybody bows down to them because they're either their rank, their wealth, whatever it is. They're never talked to as a normal friend or person. And I'll have clients that are worth umpteen million. And dude, I'm talking shit. And I just met this dude, and like and chewing their ass, talking to him as a person. And I've always noticed that people will open up more. You become friends much quicker when you just treat the same person with respect.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that's one of those things that, I mean, not a lot of people can figure out. They always, yes or no. And they have this almost like so robotic, and they're so worried about offending somebody. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, this dude puts his pants on the same way I do. Why? Just because he's, obviously I have the respect if they've done something much longer or they're a master at that trade or whatever, but like, he puts his pants on the same way I do. They bleed, they bleed like I do. And that's how, if like, I've learned that you just treat everybody like, man, like, come on in, and you'll see there's so much more of a common ground. You can relate to these people. They open up much more. I mean, it's one of those skills that when you learn at an early age, it opens up so many doors, because those people will remember you.
Absolutely.
Because it was like, man, that guy, I mean, we would be driving for hours, and you know how it is. You got a general in the back, and then they just,
no one's talking.
Sit
yeah,
there.
Sitting there.
I can't. Like,
me neither.
You can't play music,
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Like, so I'd be like, sir, what's going on? And just start that conversation, and it's just, before you know it, like, you learn about their families. They're introducing you to their wife and kids, and so it's a skill that, I mean, that you could learn, or just realize, like, hey, I'm gonna have a conversation with this guy, even though we're not on the same level.
And we'll also look at it from like the tactical perspective of like, hey man, I understand you're the general and like I'm in charge of protecting you, but there's like 6 of us out here, and you're one of the 6, dog. So like, if some shit pops off, like, I'm handing you some shit, or like you might be carrying me, or vice versa, or this truck is blown up, or whatever. So I think like there's that, and if you bring them back, their mind is not thinking like strategic, and he's got a brief POTUS, he's got some crazy thing he's doing in the SecDef or whatever. And you bring it back to like, hey, when you're doing the route and you're talking about, you're like, all right, sir, hey, if something happens, we're doing, this is where this is at, this is where this is at, grab that bag, and they're like, they feel like they did, like, they're operational again. And you just give them a little bit of
It
things.
feels good for them too.
Yeah, so I think there's also an importance to that, because like tactically, like, you don't want even if you're working with clients, like, you don't want them so far removed to what you guys are doing, doing executive protection, that they have zero idea what's going on. They need to be able to like receive a little bit of like, hey, it's time.
It's go time.
We need to go.
We gotta get the fuck off the decks.
Because it's hard to do rehearsals with executives and do those things, So, but yeah, so that was a good. Like I said, it was a cool experience there. I also did, the normal stuff we had to do, the color guard and blah, just the normal. I was in the Army, so I'm playing the game.
Yep.
What was I doing then? I did get some cool experiences. I went to. It was right when like the fight house at Fort Benning kind of opened up.
What's the fight house?
It was like when the Army started like the Modern Army Combatives program.
Okay.
So it was a bloodbath, dude. It was just like a bunch of Rangers that like were told to run this fight house at Fort Benning and train the Army to fight, and it would just beat the fuck out of each other. Yeah, that's all we did. So I got to go to Benning a lot for training. All the ranges and stuff we went on, And
you're not a Ranger at this point?
No, I'm not a Ranger at all.
Okay. But you're doing a lot of work with them.
No, I haven't done anything with Rangers at all, and nothing like in special operations, special anything super cool, just. But I would fight at the fight house with a lot of them.
Okay.
They'd come to the fight house, or they'd come and teach stuff or whatever. When I'd be able to go down there and train, and then going through the different schools that were down there. And then I re-enlisted to go back to Fort Hood. And I think it was more of just like why I was like familiar. It's like I enjoyed Texas.
Yep.
At the time, the really important things to me was like motorcycles. I love riding motorcycles. It was always hot there. It was like cool. And I had a great time like riding from all over, Austin and just being everywhere in Texas. I was like, yeah, it's cool. And the war is going on. So I was like, well, I know I'm deploying. So I was just looking at that lens of like, hey, when I'm not deployed for a year in Iraq, then like I still have a year or, a couple months or whatever to enjoy, have fun in Texas, And that's just kind of what I looked at. So I get to Texas. I get back to Texas, and this time I'm a sergeant. I was promoted, E5 promotable. I was just waiting on like my points to make staff sergeant.
Yep.
And I was a squad leader. We deployed to Iraq, so I did 05 to 06, November 05, November 06 in Iraq.
Where at?
We're just north of Warhorse. We were between Bakuba and Udaim.
Okay.
And I patrolled basically everything from like north of Warhorse all the way up into Udaim off Route Cheyenne.
How was that?
Area. It wasn't a super hard deployment, I would say. What I mean by super hard was there was a lot of guys I think like we all like weigh our trauma. There was a lot of people in that time in units that were just getting hammered, you know.
Sure.
05 and 06 was a rough year, you know. So it wasn't that bad comparably, but it was the first time where I really started to understand leadership and what I needed to do, what I needed to provide. My warrior mindset, my aggressiveness needed to be in everyone that's around me or under me if we're going to make it out of this fucking thing.
Okay.
And I had a kid get killed in another platoon, but he was roommates with one of my guys, one of my gunners. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those things where I was like, you know, I was like 25, man. Like, how do me as like a 25-year-old man take this like 18-year-old kid and motivate him enough to get back in the gun and do exactly what his buddy just got his fucking head blown off doing.
Right.
So it was like, wow, like, you know, looking at it from that perspective. Also, because I want to be the best I can possibly be, I'm still, you know, really trying to focus on making sure I'm doing everything's right. Like following, you know, troop leading procedures and PCIs and PCCs and like doing all these things, the small details that really count when shit hits the fan. Like
absolutely
having all these things done.
And then learning how to be a leader as far as keeping morale up, leading guys in a war zone. I mean,
absolutely.
Don't you love the military? How they just toss you into it,
dude. I mean, I don't think enough veterans, war veterans from just you name the era, and civilians understand what you're asking, like teenagers to do.
No, they don't.
And it's like it's heavy, bro, because you're like, wait, what? Like, so you're talking about my grandfather was 15 years old, you know? And it's like, well, okay, so there's that type of guys, but it's also like specialist fucking Monaco has to get back in the gun, and he's 18 years old, dude, and like his best friend just got his fucking head blown off. Yeah. So, or you're like zipping up body bags of like, you might not know those soldiers, you might like roll up on an ambush.
You're still seeing it, you're still smelling it, you got to touch it. I mean, and that's
everything.
That shit doesn't leave you, especially as a kid, you know?
Yeah.
And they don't prep you for that.
Yeah. So
obviously war is hell, but I mean, you know, we know what we're getting our kind of. I don't think anybody actually knew what, especially the early era guys, like, oh yeah, I'm going to join the military, go to war. Like, you have no idea what you're even with that mindset. I'm sure you know you can agree with. You come from a line of history of veterans. You still didn't have a fucking clue what you were getting yourself into. I mean, you knew what the Army was about. You knew kind of what the military was about, but like until you get to deployed, I mean, even. I have buddies that were 17, 18 years old when they joined, and they had to go do humanitarian cleanup, and they were digging bodies out of sludge for months, and they're talking about how they're holding their hand, and the meat's just coming off their arm because these people are so decayed, and they're technically teenagers still doing this, and it's like, all right, cool, we'll fly you back home, and then you know, like, then it's just, I mean, it's the military, you know, and so but it's crazy because you never until your boots on the ground. I mean, imagine a kid in a fucking war machine in a tank, like as a gunner, and you're fresh out, and I mean, especially when the war kicked off. Your guys were finishing their school, learning, and they weren't even going to the fleet. They were just getting issued their gear and straight overseas.
Yeah, man.
I mean, it was wild for a while.
Yeah, and that whole, like I said, I mean, I think there's just not enough credit. And I wasn't that young. I was 25, being a squad leader.
It's still young.
It's really young. But I feel like, you know, when you're looking at when I look back at like my team leaders, they were probably all like 22, 23, maybe 21, 22. And I am what we call, so we were technically what they called us in that area was the sheriff. So like when you're rolling through and it was just like a, you know, like plain text, like single channel plain text frequency on the radio. Like when you roll through and you got hit, like you just get on, you're requesting the sheriff to like come to your stuff. So we were basically driving into gunfights and driving into IEDs and stuff. And that was tough because we were, I wouldn't say tough. It was tough mentally on the guys on my squad because, again, like let's say you're a platoon, you're Marines, you guys are out doing something, whether you're patrolling on foot or you're riding vehicles and you get hit with an ID or something, we come assist you.
So you guys
all they see is like they're just loading dudes on fucking helicopters and like help and like just seeing like dude just, you know, dead kids and fucked up, you know, blown up and this and that. And I think like that was like kind of heavy because dudes were like,
for sure,
you know, and that time in Iraq, no other deployment have I been on that I was more worried about I was going to die than that one. And the reason why was because the IEDs were so prevalent. And all we did was drive around in fucking trucks. So I'm like,
were they armored at least, or were you in soft shell?
We started out with like old school 1025s that had like plated. We were like welding.
What's a 1025?
A 1025 is like I want to say a 1025 doesn't have a winch and a 1026 has a winch, if I remember correctly. Okay. But it's just their soft skin MP, like hatchback Humvee back in the day. The original, like kind of the one with the hatch on the back and the gun, turret.
The sloped rear.
And the turret. Okay. That was 1025 and 1026s, and we just were like
bolting armor and
shit on.
There's so many stories. I mean, we had a guy that was in the invasion, and they were like, putting sandbags on their feet because they thought that was going to help. So you guys were pretty much acting as just a quick reaction force.
A lot of it, yeah. So we were patrolling the area, like we were basically a lot like cops that rolled around like heavy guns, like we're 3 trucks deep, and anybody that came into our area, we would support. Or we would if there was just trucks driving through the middle of the desert, we'd fucking roll on, do like a vehicle interdiction, be like, "What the fuck are you? Who are you?" And sometimes there's farmers. Sometimes we get weapons, like whatever, right? Yeah. So we were basically just like patrolling this area, and our main focus was Route Cheyenne to make sure that was clear. So a lot of times we would just set up OPs in the desert at night when we weren't doing anything and just watch and just see if anybody moves in. And then we also did we work a lot with on the camp I was on, we had a company of Marine infantry, a company of Cav Scouts, and then my MP company. And we would augment the Marines a lot because we'd take their snipers out. So they'd just jump in our trucks like on patrol and just like jump out and jam some shit, dump them somewhere. We were still able to bait and stuff then, so we'd like throw out deck cord and like sit on it and
watch them. Yeah,
we had a oil refinery that was like a one way in, one way out, and that was really bad area to go down and patrol. So we like to keep the Marines in there, and then because it was like very green zone too, so it's really easy for guys to just get up on the road, dig and blow stuff up. Cav Scouts lost a couple people, trying to get to that oil refinery and stuff. I remember that. But it was the thing that I did during that deployment, which I think really helped, was we had Friday night fights on the camp. And I boxed every Friday night.
They don't do that shit anymore.
No, they don't. We beat the fuck out of each other every Friday night. And I had this rep. I was the 185 champ for like a year, dude. Right. And we just had a cool, all the Marines. We'd fight the Marines. We'd fight
that was like lining them up. I'm sure.
Platoon. Oh, yeah. But it gave me and my squad like so much respect because 3 guys, all 3 team leaders in my squad fought. We all trained together. Like if they didn't get in the ring, like to physically box. And I think that like camaraderie of like just being proud to like watch your like squad or just like this dude's just fucking fighting some Marine infantry kid, like fuck it.
And and having any Marine around, I mean, you're guaranteed. You don't have. I mean, all you have to do is just say one thing. You're gonna have fucking 6 of them lined up.
And that year was cool because like my squad had like a cool reputation of like they're boxed, they're like out on patrol. Like we show up, you're like, oh, my boys are here. You call me on the radio, or like you see me, like, hey man, can you bring me some chow? Or we like roll up to you guys. Are you guys doing all right? Like, dude, we're hungry as fuck. So like, we'll got you. We'll go back.
That's pretty cool.
Load up, chow food. So it was a cool experience to like, it was a good deployment, despite a lot of those, stuff that happened. And like I said, I wasn't like terrified to die. It was just like, dude, I don't want to get. Everybody was getting blown up. Like no one was getting gunfights, getting shot. It was like
toe poppers and
fuck, man. Yeah. So a lot of the injuries I saw were all like just devastating.
For sure.
IEDs.
They scare the fuck out of you,
FMPs started coming, or not FMPs, the EMPs, the EMPs, the ones that like fold out with all the brass inside.
I'm
just tripping on the name of it right now. It's been so long, but that was like when IEDs really started to get like from just being like bang and blow your truck up to like killing everyone.
Now they're turning armored vehicles. I remember when those came out. What the hell are they called?
I think it's EMP.
I thought the EMP was the one where it takes out all your electronics.
It's
anyways, you're describing it. They put a steel plate in front of this a charge, and when the force pretty much turns this thing into a copper liquid.
So it's basically like it's like a cone.
A cone, and then when they were hitting vehicles, it was pulling everything pretty much everything out.
It sucks
the
it
other
all
side.
out the other side.
I mean, I remember when those were first coming out. we would go and we'd see some of these vehicles that got hit. I mean,
Yeah.
the way that metal, I'll never forget this, and I don't even know if anybody can even explain it unless you saw it. The way that the armor on vehicles, when they get hit, it looks like if you took that door and made it out of butter and it was really soft, or like when you were a kid and you'd find that
mold
perfect,
it.
when you find that perfect mud and you throw a rock in it and it just, and then it stays in, the mud stays in how it explodes. That's what it was doing to the metal. Like these thick ass armored doors, and it looked like butter, how it just melted open, and then you could see how everything was sucked out the other side. I mean, it was scary as fuck watching that shit.
So that was the reason why I think it was hard for like myself and my squad, because we did lose. We lost one kid. Joseph Graves was killed that deployment, and then another by an ID complex ambush with an ID initiated by an ID.
So how was that? I mean, losing your first guy.
He wasn't mine. He was in a different platoon.
And this is one of your
that was my gunner, one of my gunners, Specialist Monaco. It was his roommate.
Okay.
So we roommate also. They lived in there was a bunch of gunners, and then I'm trying to remember how it was set up, but they also lived in the same hooch too. So they were roommates at Fort Hood, and then when they deployed, they were also like, well, yeah, and we were like, yeah, you guys can be roommates. So they had the four guys in that hooch. He was in there, so he had to help his team leader pack his stuff up, and
it's the worst.
So the hard part for I think for my guys and for me, what was more waiting on that when we had that mission was because we were going to everything. So and my objective in that was always to yes, first we set security in, then we figure out how can we help you. And most of the time helping you is hey man, you get all your guys off this, they don't need to fucking see it. So if a Bradley's fucking upside down in a fucking crater, we're crawling down into that motherfucker to get the dudes out that are in the Bradley instead of you have
guys.
Yeah, so we would try to
So you're absorbing a lot of the trauma, I guess, in a way.
Yeah,
so
well, I think it was just a weird fear because it was you're seeing what's happening to these dudes, and then my guys are just fuck, dude, and we're seeing what the IDs are doing, and then about towards the tail end of that deployment, another squad got hit with an IED, really, really bad one, like a daisy chain, specifically attacking us. So they were on day shift and I was on night shift, so we worked 12-hour shifts. And so 12 to 12, and I was probably asleep for a few hours, and my platoon sergeant bangs on my door, and he's like, "You got to fucking roll, dude!" He's like, "Second squad just got hit." So we roll out. I was really proud of my guys. I remember this moment because we were at the clearing barrels rolling out before QRF, the Marines, were even rolling out the gate. And we get out there, and the Marines were right behind us. We set up security, do all that stuff, and we had to assume their job. So we get them on the aircraft. They get medevaced out and everything, but we stayed on shift until the next morning when they find another squad to replace them.
Yep. How bad did those guys get hit with a daisy chain?
No one died. They were all life-changing injuries.
Okay.
I think only one guy actually stayed in the Army.
Really?
The squad leader, Reese. He was a drill sergeant with me at the same time. The rest of them, I think he just took some shrapnel. But everybody else was lost legs, lost significant body parts, whether it's kneecaps. I remember distinctively helping one of the kids. I think Wenzel was the one with the kneecap. And I knew a lot of these kids. They were in my platoon. Mm-hmm. I was the PT guy for my company to help remedial PT and make sure people were in shape and all that stuff. So some of those kids, there was 2 of those kids that were on my remedial PT program, and I was I knew them well. Yeah. So that was my guys seeing that. I think that was kind of hard on them to see. A lot of people talk about what happens in war and all these things, but the reality is what people don't understand is these are friend is a hard word to use.
Yeah.
It's especially at that time, you're talking it's losing your brother.
100%. It's a brother.
Yeah. So you're it's a family member that these kids are losing or seeing. And even if I never met you from Adam, and like I said, I roll up to you and I'm a squad leader and you're a squad leader, I'm hey, what's going on? And you're we're talking, and we're hey, push the truck up there. I'm gonna push whatever. We're getting what we need to do tactically done. But I'm looking at you like never met you before. You're just a E5 Marine, like trying to get your fucking guys, and you just got hit or you did this or whatever. And it literally like just it's like I know you from. It's like I knew you. You know.
That's a really good point. I mean, you'd cross paths with guys in other units, and you'd be like, "Yo, dude, all right, where you going?" And you'd dab it.
Yeah.
All right, okay, cool. And I mean, you could have a 5-minute conversation, and then you see that guy months later, and you're like,
at the gym or whatever.
You're like, oh, dude, how's your team doing? No, you're good. It's an instant bond, and I think that's what most civilians, when they ask, like, God, like, what's it like? How do you guys, like my wife, I mean, I'm sure yours sees it too when you get around old buddies, and I tell people, I have blood don't make you family. And
no. Yeah.
It's love and loyalty, and that's exactly what we get in the military. And people are like, listen, like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Like, dude, it doesn't matter. Army, it doesn't matter what branch. I mean, over there, there's no. I mean, we would talk shit.
Yeah, of course.
And you have your rivalries and stuff, and it's all fun and games. Especially like you boxing and stuff. We were having football matches that would last 7 hours, and dudes couldn't even fucking walk the next day and go on patrol because they were so beat up. But it's that. We're all there for the same reason. At the time, we all thought we were fighting the good fight.
Yeah.
We're all going through all of our own bullshit over there and helping people. Yeah. And you're involved in it in some way or another. And it's like it's this instant bond. And so it's like then you start seeing and hearing about hey, this unit got hit. They lost 4. Like, fuck, man. Like exactly. we were just with them.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's one of those things. And I think that especially for guys that have ever deployed, it's a bond that you'll never be able to describe to anybody.
People don't get it.
They'll never understand. And I honestly, in a way, for a long time, I felt bad for like civilians, and I'm like, they'll never, because like I've been on sports teams. I have really. There's nothing. Unless you go through some serious trauma bonding, but that's the military. And I mean, that should be the fine print. Like, you're going to have a brotherhood from trauma bonding. You're like, what is trauma bonding? And then you join the military, like, the whole experience from start to finish. But it's crazy how tight and just the love for each other that you have over there, and you just in passing. I mean, seeing guys in the chow hall, and it's like, you're like, you sit next to them one day and you grab your quick chow, and then you see them. And you're like, oh, what's up, man? And you have that instant, or you find out where they're from, and oh shit, I'm from there. It's crazy of how tight things get really fast overseas, and how the connection that we bond with each other, and it's something that'll never. I wish somebody can explain or find a way to explain or show somebody how tight it is, and they'll never understand. It's like, especially, I mean, I can't speak for the Army, but like Marines, it's just you meet another. I meet another Marine, and it's just that instant. And you know that, okay, this dude's got my back, 100%. And so it's
I that was like one of my a cool thing. I enjoyed having the infantry Marines there, and I mean, it could have just been Army. It was having the infantry guys was cool because they were like, at first they were like MPs, but by the end of it, even when they were like switching out, because they only did like 6 months there, and they switched out with another infantry company, another set of Marines. And they were like, no, dude. Like, they were like, introduce me, I had a gunner, Lacey Fappel, and she was actually my gunner in my truck. And, I mean, obviously, she was like a 10, right? Because, she was in Iraq, and there's like 5 chicks on camp. But she was pretty, she's pretty, but she was like a Valley girl from Cali.
So we have to talk about this real quick. So you say she's a 10.
Yeah.
So we joke about, like, she's an Iraq 10, but she's a stateside 3. Like,
no, she wasn't a 3. She was like
I'm not saying her, but like there's a rating system when you don't see women, everybody becomes beautiful, and so you'd have to like tell yourself, like, okay, what's she gonna look like in the States when we get back?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I want to date her.
Yeah, there was a thing. That's a thing where you're like, somebody be like, dude, I saw this chick, because we go back to like Haditha Dam, resupply. I saw this chick.
She's beautiful. Like, she's so hot.
What's she stateside?
Yeah.
You're like, well, maybe like a 4 or 5. Like, all right, I ain't gonna walk up 20 flights.
Yeah, I don't need to see this.
I know, I'm good.
It was cool because she was like one of the cute girls on camp, and like people, of course, they was like, oh, who's that? But she was like surgical with an AT-4. But she shot an AT-4 like with a fucking sniper rifle, dude. Like,
really?
Never in my life. I don't know what it was, like how she would, like, I mean.
Just had it.
Oh, dude, it's like legit, like something like, you're like, that's like, I remember we're like getting hit with IDF. And I could see the poo, and I was on binos, and so I just moved the trucks around this berm, and I was like, had the Mark 19s going and stuff, and Lacey's standing on the top of the truck, and so she could see it, and shot 2 of them, 2 fucking 8, and smoked the fuck. So it's like, I mean, just, and even like in training, you know, we'd go out to the desert and like blow shit, and just like, we had like buildings and stuff, we'd go, and she'd be like, I can hit this, right? You're like, no fucking way. And it was cool. So we had, and that was the one female I had in my squad. So even she had a good reputation and like had to like prove herself, you know, and that was cool. And that was kind of the first time, I always had females, you know, I was an MP, but that was kind of the first time that I saw that, like, hey, yeah, they're different from us. Like, there's a lot of things, you know, and not to go down that rabbit hole, but also like, yeah, but like in certain settings or certain capabilities, like in what we were doing at that time, that mission set, like she was fully capable. She was awesome. She was a great soldier. And then, so we just kind of got known. Like, you could tell who our squad was because you could see her in the gun with her blonde hair, like, hanging out, you know.
And everybody was looking.
Everyone knows. Yeah, exactly. No, exactly.
Is this them?
So I was like, you know, the dad. I was like, what the fuck you looking at? You know, like, walking, like, that's why I boxed every week. And I was like, they're like, it's a fucking squad leader. I was like, you want some? You got to fucking, let's get in the ring. But no, I just had a great experience. It was really cool. And then while I was deployed, I was DA selected to be a drill sergeant. Oh. So,
while you were deployed?
Yeah. So I wanted to be a drill sergeant. So basically when we got back from deployment, it was almost every squad leader in my company was a drill sergeant. Okay. Almost every single squad leader in my company got picked to be a recruiter or a drill sergeant, or they were a turd and didn't. Mm-hmm. Like, but it was literally like, if there was, I don't know what the number of squad leader was. Yeah, if there was 10, it was 8 of us went, you know, to do that. So I get back from Fort Hood, basically just go straight to drill sergeant school. Drill sergeant school it's just going to basic training again, basically, and then you just learn to like not fuck privates, take their money, or hit them. You know, that's basically all they tell you, and you just go into
happens.
Basic. Oh, dude, it fucking does, because they bring in like, you'll watch like videos, dudes in like Leavenworth telling you about having sex with privates and shit. Yeah, dude, like it's rape. They treat it as rape, which is nuts because they're double standard for like what they do with the military versus what they do with like governments, you know, senators, governors, everyone else. Like, it's fucking, like, you literally, you know, get me in like a completely consensual, like, I'm not saying it's right because you're an authority figure, 100%. But like Andrew Cuomo, dog, like, what? Like, there's no different, you know, like, you're a drill sergeant, like, so it's just literally this double standard, and it's weird, and people don't understand how much the military is this, like, UCMJ, and what it is, it's all people forcing it. So like, if they want to fuck you, they will. If they don't want to fuck you, they won't. Yeah. They don't have to.
That's crazy, because I knew it was bad in the recruiting world. I mean, there's recruiters that get caught up constantly. I mean,
same in drill sergeant. We had a couple drill sergeants in my battalion, or maybe it wasn't my battalion. I know. So you're on the trail for 2 years.
On the trail is like
what to call it on the trail, being a drill sergeant.
Okay.
So you're on there for 2 years straight.
That's rough. That's gotta be rough on a marriage.
Dude, to be honest, man, it was the fun, like, my best time in the Army.
Really?
Better than Special Forces. Like, I'm not gonna say better than Special Forces. The reason why I enjoyed it so much was it was the first time in my life I really felt that I could pay it forward.
Okay.
And because we just came from Iraq, every single drill sergeant that was in my company, or that was like in my like, every drill sergeant was a fucking went to war, dude. Yeah. So like, and the thing is
poor kids, they didn't stand a chance.
Well, that, and like, the reason why it was so my time to get back was like, I always wanted to be a drill sergeant. My drill sergeant was so influential in my life, and he was like, you know, if you look at like in the dictionary, if there was pictures for like a soldier, he was like this jacked black dude from Alabama that was just like, he looked like he played fucking like he looked like he was like a wide receiver or something, just like the perfect soldier, like tall, slender, but like jacked. Which I
feel that's how every drill instructor or drill sergeant should be. I mean,
no, for sure.
That's your first impression as like a young kid.
And he was just like tough. And I remember that like, he did and obviously it's different because you're like, no one now, it's like, it wasn't that hard what he did, but he did everything with us. And I really respected that, because that's how I trained when I did martial arts. Like if what we're doing, you're doing, they're like punishments. I might smoke you, but like, let's go, bro. Like, I'll do it with you, or like to show them certain things or show them leadership traits. And he did a lot of those things and really helped me continue to want to be in the Army. And when I say it was my time to pay it forward, it was like I went to war, I went to combat. I had these different experiences from the times in Egypt to back and forth to Iraq, Afghanistan, just flying with the boss, and then Iraq, full on a whole year as a squad leader. So the MP Corps, it's also so small that like you will literally, these privates that you're civilians you're making to soldiers are going to your friends to, you will be their platoon sergeant.
Sure.
Like in 2 years, like, and it happened, like no bullshit, you will be there. They will be in your fucking platoon. You'll be a first sergeant. There'll be fucking 10 of them in your company. So you
want to make sure you're doing the best.
Yeah, you want to.
Shit's gonna work for you.
Yeah, you want to do a good job. And the thing I really saw the tangible when I was a drill sergeant, another saying I'd really like to say is, no one cares what you've done in the past. It's about what you're doing right now. And that saying is like, and that's leadership to me, because, you could have been the best soldier, the best Marine, Medal of Honor winner, the most badass, like, team leader the Marine Corps has ever fucking seen. But if you're just like a shitty first sergeant right now, you know what you are? You're just a shitty first sergeant. Mm-hmm. No, and everyone rides that coattail, especially if someone gets a certain award or they do that. And it's like, no, dude, he fucking sucks. Like, he's shitty. Yeah. And it's what would make me mad is like, as I go through my career, like if a dude's fat, like you're a sergeant major and you're fucking fat, like especially if you're a Green Beret, I'm like, fuck that dude. Like, I don't even want to talk to, like, I don't like anything you have to say to me. Like, I don't give a fuck, dog. Like, you're not on my level. You're not. Nope. You're fat. So I'm like fat racist, dude, or whatever they call it, whatever the word is.
Especially in the military, I was the same way, man. Like, we'd see these Marines, and it's like, bro, what the, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, well, especially with like in where physical fitness is a weapon. 100%. So like if you're preaching all this bullshit, like you want your fucking chalk blocks and drip pans all fucking lined up, but you don't want. So what standard are we meeting here, bro? Mm-hmm. We're obviously not meeting weight and tape fucking height standard and shit.
I mean, that's how it should be. That's how it used to be. I feel. Yeah. And now it's. I mean, I've gone back to base now, and like I look at some of these Marines, and I'm like, what in the fuck?
Well, I mean, like, the society's just hurting, dude. There's no warriors.
No, I think that. I mean, I think we're gonna have another round of it. I've been watching all these young kids. That's a different topic, but there's a lot of young kids that are coming and looking up to it. And these middle American kids, are. Fuck, I think there's going to be another generation of us behind us. I know everyone wants to focus on the negative and soft men create hard time, all that bullshit. But I think there's still a good core group of young men.
Yeah, I mean, out where I live, I'm around a bunch of country ass like badass kids. And
that's
man.
what it's the city kids that are fucked. City kids are they're toast. But these country kids, I mean, they still got a chance. So you're a drill instructor. I want to hear some drill sergeant stories, because you guys are the most sadistic human beings on the planet. Yeah. I mean, the way that, at least for the Marine side of things, the way that these guys would fuck with us, it's pure genius. I mean, and I've talked about that they should have. I don't know about now. It wouldn't last a day, but like a reality show of just the pure.
I always said, I said that when I was a drill sergeant. So, and I'll tell you that I always would say, if I could have a camera crew follow me around for a week and make a 30-minute episode, I was like, I'd be the #1 show in America, but then they'd cancel immediately. They'd fucking kick me off the trail. But 100%. When everybody saw it.
Fascinating shit. Like,
but back to that, I'll just give you like a tangible something in your mind for people. And what I saw that as a drill sergeant was such a quick cycle. Yeah. Because you're there for 2 years. You are... by regulation, each phase, you're dictated how long you have to be there. So the first 4 weeks of basic training, and really the first like 8 weeks, because it's your rifle marksmanship, you're doing all these intense things, you're all hands on deck.
You never leave.
Like, you're there 30 minutes before wake up and 30 minutes after lights out by regulation during the first 4 weeks. Then you're doing it again because you need to be there early enough to train your guys, so like to shoot well and qualify and do what they need to do. So it's a lot.
You're married to the troops.
So what happens is it's 2 years. So the old school way, or the kind of the cycle of it, was like, as you get longer in the tooth to getting off the trail, the younger guys are doing all of like the stress work and yelling and you like, dude, I've been yelling for 2 years.
You become a senior, so you're more. Yeah, so you're the good cop now.
So what happens is like we're on the obstacle course, and let's say like you're the guy. It's raining outside. You're wearing a Gore-Tex jacket. They don't even have they've never even seen a Gore-Tex jacket, so it just looks like a cool, sweet army jacket to them. And it's pouring rain. You're just standing there with your arms crossed at the fucking one of the obstacles. Just like, hurry up, private, let's fucking go. You're just mad because you're standing there. And then I fucking come running through like muddy as fuck, covered in camo on my face. I'm like, let's fucking go. Like low crawling, like having fun and just like motivating them and going and going. Who do you think they want to be like?
Exactly.
And that's where I saw that leader, because that was an actual story, like no bullshit. We had a senior guy, and that's what he did, and no one fucking respected him. The drill sergeants didn't, the privates didn't. Like they did what he told them to do, but like they didn't want to be him. You know, there's no people telling stories about how they wanted to be like him.
He didn't have that leadership when he came up in it. I guarantee it.
So, being a drill sergeant. All right, so. One of the things I used to do.
What was your favorite?
Okay, so this is my absolute favorite. I wanted to scare the shit out of you when you first got there, in some kind of way where you're like, so if you thought you were a tough guy or something, I wanted to know where you were at. So what I would do is, we had field week, and field week, a full cycle for us was 220 privates. Usually in the summer we'd feel like 260. It's a lot, bro.
Kids.
So 220 is standard, but in the summer surges we'd get 260 or plus, and it was a fuck ton, bro.
And how many drill sergeants is there? 3?
It's supposed to be 3 per platoon, but most of the time it was 2.
You have that many kids, the two of you? Oh.
No. Each platoon, there's 4 platoons in a company, okay. So you're about 40. Each 45, 50,
God,
60
I thought
kids.
you guys, that was one platoon.
No.
Okay.
So you've got like 40 to 60 around that number for three guys. The problem with the 3 is you got CQ on, CQ out, like full 24-hour duties and all that crazy stuff that goes on. But anyway, we do field week, and each day they give you like 50 privates or whatever for like 4 days until you get everybody. And then so you're only in processing, like doing the paperwork stuff so you're doing shark attack where they get off the bus and you're fucking doing all that shit, right? Trail of Tears with their bags and all that shit. And then you have your platoon, so you're just doing paperwork, you're doing their counts and packets. And what I would do when I was sitting there, I would always read them, and I wanted to find, I always found four dudes. I'm holding up number 3. 4.
You would have made a great Marine.
So I always found 4 guys, and my 4 guys was always 4 different races of guys from different places that did a lot of the same thing. So when I read your packet, I met you, and I was like, I'm looking at it, I was like, oh, you're from California? And you're like, yes, sir. I'm like, oh, did you wrestle? I wrestled, played football. I'm like, okay. And I'm looking at this, like, this is your stuff. You actually did this. I'm like, all right. And I'd be like, all right, he's one of them. That big fucking white kid with the tattoos from California, he's one. And then I have pulling, I'm looking, and it's like, hey, this kid played football. This big black dude from fucking North Carolina. I'm like, he's one. And I would just, like, Mexican kid, like some tough little fucking vato motherfucker. I'd be like, what'd you use? Like, nothing, drill sergeant. I did. And he's just like a tough little fucking kid. I'm like, all right. So what I would do is I would find those 4 guys, and then I'd make anything that happened in my platoon their fucking responsibility. So I was like, bro, if motherfuckers out of line, like, and I had this joke too when I would be it'd progress. Like when I was on CQ, I would be like, hey man, I'd be like, hey privates. Sometimes when Jeremiah Wilber's on CQ, people fall out of the bunk. That's all I got.
So you were letting your guys police their own?
Oh yeah. I made that like the standard. Like you.
So those were your guide and squad leaders, pretty much what you were picking?
No, not at all.
No?
Nope. These were just fucking dudes I knew that would
enforcers.
Fight. Yep. Dudes I knew that would fight.
No shit.
Yep. Because I needed to play the game of what's going on in my platoon. How do I know everything that's going on in here? How do I instill this I hate bullies. Yep. And I wasn't asking for 4 bullies. I wanted 4 guys who had been there, who understand like sports and team camaraderie and fighting and that kind of like feel, that vibe. I want that country ass kid. I want the like a ghetto kid that gets it. Like, and what that does is it allows them to, and I would tell them, like, you're not fucking bullies, but you need to make shit happen. Because sometimes all those little squabbles and shit that drill sergeants don't need to handle, like, what? We're adults, bro. Like, fucking handle that shit. So I'd always look for that, and that really helped out, as we'd go through basic training and do things. And I'd also have them do, like, I'd have a duffel bag. And in that duffel bag, if any gear was like unsecure, I was like, put it in that fucking duffel bag because we need to turn it in for CIF. And so like my dudes would literally be like, we'd be like walking and there'd be like privates with their shit out, and they'd be like criminal. They'd be like, there's only one thief in the army, right? Everyone else trying to get their shit back.
Same shit.
So so they'd be like, it's unsecure, like fucking throw it in the bag. Like just, it was funny, and some of it's probably like, oh, but I did that, and that really kind of like for me, every cycle helped give me a couple guys that were like, you know, and sometimes it didn't always work out. Sometimes, you know, change guys around or whatever. So that was like in my mind during field week. I'd always read those packets. And then the next thing I would do is when I got my whole platoon, everyone who's going to be assigned to my platoon, male and female. So
you had male and female?
Yeah. So we had females. Yeah, we had a female
How
bay.
does that work?
It was rough. It was rough. So we also have female drill sergeants. So I was blessed. I had a female battle buddy. I had a female, my senior drill sergeant in my platoon, and then she actually became our senior in the company. She's one of like the highest ranking NCOs in the Army right now. She was up for like Sergeant Major of the Army. I was hoping she would have got it.
So how does this work? Because, you know, when I went to Paris Island, the female,
you guys are completely separate.
You don't even see them until you get to
so ours is everything's exactly the same except for like when you go into your bay. So like the female drill sergeants are not allowed. So we have changing rooms. So you have to be in like this. So you can walk into the bay. No one's allowed to be undressed or anything in the bay. Where like when you look down the set of the bunks and the lockers and everything that's in there, there's like literally like an L shape to get in room outside the shower room where you change and do everything in. The females and the males, they all have that set up. So if a female walks on the floor, they announce that the female drill sergeant's walking on the floor. They yell at ease and they know it's a female drill sergeant. The male drill sergeants have to be escorted. The male drill sergeants have to be escorted until you get a certain point in the phase. But the same thing, this yell at ease, like, hey, or like male privates go up there to do something to interact, like you're a squad leader and you need to get pass information or whatever. They have to yell like male on the floor. Like
that sounds like such a pain in the ass.
It's a pain, but it's also like, from what I don't understand is like, I get why the Marine Corps does it. And the Army has like, obviously like, you know, now every females can do anything, but before it was like, you know, infantry, like I get it. It does make some sense though when you're asking like what the Marine Corps does, they train males and they train females, then they ask them to live together and cohabitate. So it's like not everyone's infantry. I mean, not everyone, some people are going to be paperwork and mechanics and they're going to work with females. So if you never, like, my whole point is like, well, then why would you, if you have a job where you're supposed to work with everybody.
I never had any crossover from boot camp all the way until I went to division, the color guard, and that's the only like that, because, you know, I was working up at the flagpole at the White House, and that was my first experience with women, and I was a crusty wannabe salty sergeant working with these females for the first time, and like, dude, it was a complete culture shock for me, because how they were talking and treating us, like, it was blew my mind, right? And then at that time, it was just, I had all these dudes that were hardcore trigger pullers. I mean, most of them had 2 or 3 Purple Hearts, and same thing. They never, and then we all go up to division, and now we're working with these like privates. They're like, and they would us, and it was like, what the fuck? And we're chewing ass. And my buddy threw one of them through a door at Marine Corps Ball because she was just belligerent, and it was this huge shit show. And like, it's like, that's how we treated our troops. But
for sure.
But now you have these women, so it's almost a good example. But I mean, I don't know how many times there'd be 70 dudes butt ass naked standing on line, all at attention, and you're just like, this is the most degrading shit, and we'd stand there for hours.
We did stuff like that, but in like a controlled environment. So we had during like the first 4 weeks, we'd run shower drills, which is basically like, everybody doesn't know, it's like the gayest thing you can possibly do. You're literally like butt to butt, you know, standing back to, you know, in a line, and it's literally like all the showers are on. You're like 10 seconds in the water, 10 seconds to scrubbing, 10 seconds in the water.
You motherfuckers don't tell us, this for everybody watching and listening, those shower drills, at least for us, they would have them freezing ass cold,
hot, cold, fire and ice,
scalding
fire
hot,
and ice,
and we would just run through. And so you're like, it sucks the wind out of you, that you're melting your skin. They would just make us do laps in that shit.
I just remember one day where I had some awesome drill sergeants, man. One of my best friends, Jerome Easter, he was on the trail with me, and I remember one day we were doing shower drills, and he was up there, and I walk up to the bay, and all I hear from the changing room is, I'm like, what the fuck are they saying? And he was like, every time they'd take a step forward to like be the next in line, and like the whole line would go, they would say, pardon my loofah, pardon my loofah, pardon my loofah. So there's like 60 dudes in here butt naked with like their loofahs in their hands. I was like, oh my God, man, you're going to fucking get in so much trouble. But so okay, drill sergeant. So let me stay on. God, so this was my favorite thing to do. This is what I did. Is I wanted to scare everyone, right? Okay. So I got all my platoon, and I'd take them up to the male latrine. Go in the latrine, And we have to teach them everything that they do. So like, this is how you clean the mirror. This is how you do blah, blah. So I have females, everyone in this fucking latrine. Before they'd go in there, I'd take a Snickers bar and I'd crush it up a little bit and make it look like a turd, and I'd stick it in the toilet. I'd pour a little Mountain Dew on top, put some toilet paper in there, and just let it sit in there. And then I had my whole platoon in there, and I would like, hey, this is what you're doing privates, blah, 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 you know, like talking, and someone going at him, blah, blah. This is like 2 hours in the fucking latrine, right?
Yeah.
So I get to that fucking, dude, it was hard. I had to like hold my shit together and be like, all right, whew, whew, all right. And I'd open up that latrine, and I would just go ape shit. I'd be like, this is fucking disgusting. You do this at home? And I'd reach in and I'd grab that Snickers bar, and I would scream at him. Like,
As you're pointing.
just going, and like with this thing in my hand, and then I'd throw it into the toilet, kick the toilet flush, and then I was like, you're fucking, and I would like on my hands, and I'd be like, you're fucking disgusting. And I would leave the latrine and let them sit in there for like 10 minutes by themselves.
And these people are like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
like, what the fuck? And
This dude's out of control.
yeah, I had this kid, we called him Radio because he looked like fucking Cuba Gooding Jr. from fucking Radio.
That's another thing. Drill instructors come up with the most fascinating names.
Dude. Yeah, we had so many names.
Fascinating
So I had
names.
this kid Radio, but he played middle linebacker at University of North Carolina. He's just this jacked black kid, dude. And he was like culture shock, like never been around white people before, like that. Like,
So that's what a lot of people don't understand. When you join the military, I mean, I remember having kids from, I'm talking the coon ass kids from Louisiana that had never even been around white kids before.
Yep.
And then I remember white kids were like,
Yeah,
oh, these
black
guys
kids.
can't swim?
yeah, no, for sure.
Like, and I'm like, that's a thing?
That's a thing. You're like, no, it's really a thing,
Yeah.
bro.
Like, you're like, oh,
Pools
okay.
in the hood, dog.
Yeah, and that's my drill instructor. Literally before we did swim
Yeah.
qual at boot camp, they sat us down and he was like, "Listen, motherfuckers, like, this isn't racist." And he was a short drill instructor,
Yeah.
Sergeant Barnes. I've talked about him on one of the podcasts. I would love to find him one of these, but he literally sat us down. He's like, "It's a culture thing," and I didn't have no idea. What he was talking about. I grew up on a river, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, swimming. Everybody swims.
Yeah.
And he's talking to us, and I'm like, I'll never forget it. We're sitting all Indian style. I mean, I guess crisscross applesauce now, but
No, Indian style.
they're trying to take that from us. I remember sitting there, and he's talking to us like, all right, this ain't racist, but some of us can't swim. And I remember sitting there like, what the fuck's this guy talking about? And he's like, all you dark Marines, he's like, we're going to be in the pool for the next week. And he's like, it's going to suck. And I remember looking at my buddy who gives from Florida. I'm like, black people can't swim? And he's like, no, man, black people can't swim. I'm like
he's like normal. Like, bro, what do you? No, we can't fucking swim,
I
bro.
was like, what do you mean? Just black people can't swim? I thought it was just black people couldn't swim. Like,
Yeah.
they're just somehow, like, their bodies are built different. I had no idea that
No,
there's no pools and hoods.
It's funny that you're saying that because that is the military. Because you're getting, you're like, if you're like a white kid from Minnesota, never even seen a black person except for on TV. Next thing you know, you're like this jack black dude's like screaming at you at boot camp, and then but my favorite thing about the Army though is you fast forward that, and you literally have like a kid who from Minnesota never seen a black kid in his life, and he's roommates with a black dude from Brooklyn.
Yes.
And now this white dude, you fast forward now, and there's like 2 40-year-old men that are like best friends. He loves fucking Wu-Tang. This dude listens to fucking country and shit. He goes like fishing and hunting with his buddy from Minnesota, and like
you pick
it's
up
so fucking cool.
many.
It's so fucking cool.
That's why vets are into so much different shit.
Yep.
Because like, dude, I didn't know what the fuck Wu-Tang was. Like, and then you're getting introduced to so many different cultures and music and food, and then you go home with these dudes on leave, and then now you're at your Mexican buddy's house, and his mom's cooking the craziest shit for you, and you come home and back to the barracks or whatever, and everyone's talking like, oh my god, like, dude, that was one of the coolest parts about the military is being exposed to so many different walks of life.
Yeah. It's my favorite thing about the military because it is America. It is
100%.
all walks of life, all colors, creeds, religions, sexual, like anything you want to, Republican, anything that is dividing right now, conservatives, liberals, whatever you want to call it, gay dude, no one fucking cares, dude. No one cares. And the only time anybody ever cared was when people tried to hide that something from somebody. Then they're like, why didn't you tell me you're gay,
gets
bro?
sniffed out,
Like,
yeah.
we don't care you're gay. Just don't look at me when I'm changing. And then it just becomes a gay joke. You're like, don't fucking look at my dick, faggot. Or whatever. And it's like, if more people had that humor and that ability to embrace each other for their differences, like they do, like you're almost forced to in the military.
Have to.
And now, obviously, not to get off the subject, but like now it's not that. Now we're actually, it's good to be different. But the reality is, soldiers don't need to be different, bro. Killers need to be trained and all the same and have the same standards and
For sure. But
and
bring your culture, bring your beliefs. That's
it removes your identity from you, and you get to keep small things about who you are that make you good. So it kind of removes like a lot of the bad identity of you, and then gives you the identity of being a Marine or being a soldier, something to belong to, a skill set to build off of, and then use your culture and who you are as an American or an immigrant or whatever you are.
That's another thing.
I do have some badass fucking dudes all over the world.
We had immigrants in our platoon that guys were coming here to get, and that's how they were getting their green card. And I'm like, wait, you joined the military to be, and you're not even a U.S. citizen? Like, no. Yeah. And I'm like,
we would have. I've had like really cool ceremonies to like citizenship.
Yeah.
Like, like go to like citizenship ceremonies. Like
some of those are like some of the most proud moments.
Yeah,
too.
they're so
like
cool.
I mean, dude, I've been to a couple where it's honestly it's emotional because you take this guy from Honduras or freaking Mexico or wherever they're from, and they want to become an American so bad that they join the military because they're trying to better their family. It's not even the kid, especially Hispanic kids. It's never for themselves. It was always about their family. Dude, I get goosebumps talking about it because I've worked with so many of them, and they were always the most incredible kids. This dude is willing to put his life on the line to help his family to join the military, and here I am from upstate New York on the Canadian border, and I'm like, "You're what?" Like,
well, that's.
It's incredible,
right. And that's what I mean.
The best part about the military.
That's my America, dude. And that's what pissing me off about what goes on now. And I try to like share a lot of that in social media or how I conduct myself because it's like, no, that's my America, bro. Like I am this mixed race, half-breed kid that had my family's identity removed. But at the same time, the identity of warriors and being a warrior culture and a warrior society and that blood that flows, my fucking ancestors' blood pumps in my body, bro. Like, it's why I was able to do what I did. Yep. So, like, to me, that's so cool. And we are so far removed from highlighting that. Instead, we want, in society in general. And it's like the one thing I always tell people and veterans is like, do not lose sight of all walks of life. All people from every color, creed, religion, sexual orientation, you name it, came together, and you're all the same. You're all fucking brothers. You're all this amazing group of people, and we just lost sight of that.
I mean, I remember meeting guys, and you can tell. I mean, dude, there were some hardcore dudes that did not like some other dudes.
Yeah.
You're forced.
Yeah.
I mean, and then within months, I mean,
well, a lot of it's just not knowing. A lot of it's not knowing, right? Because your interactions with something, if you're like a white kid and you don't really have you didn't play football, you didn't play basketball, you're not from the city where you're going to have like, unless you play basketball or football and you're from a city, you might not have a bunch of like homies that are Mexican or black or any other color, right? So what your interactions with black dude is like the motherfucker who walks diagonal across the parking lot at Walmart with his pants sagging and he's like, what, motherfucker? And you're like, of course. And you're just like, right? But the reality is like, bro, that's not every... Like, even your black homie would be like, get the fuck out of the street, motherfucker. Like, he would be like, fuck you do, and you just, because they've never seen that interaction. So everything is about your personal experiences, and you're just, you're drawing from all of your own personal experiences. Yeah. In today's day and age, social media has made your experiences my experiences versus before it was, no. My experiences are my experiences, and I'm learning how to navigate this in life.
Oh, for sure.
But
now everybody builds their own image of you off of their social, and they think everything's completely different.
Right, or they tell themselves a story based off something they saw somebody do, and now the whole group is this or the whole thing is that, and it's like, well, and like,
I don't want to get off topic.
No, I mean,
I want to get to your Green Beret days.